Moving into the Feldenkrais portion of the lesson. Let's start with your right leg. So if your knees are bent, if you're able to let your right leg down long, that would be helpful. And of course, at any time, always bend your knees, move, do what you need to do for your own self-care. So there's my directions, and then there's your adjustments so that you're taking care of yourself. And with your right leg, just begin to roll your leg out to the side and then kind of let it go. Let it roll itself back to neutral. So you're going to actively roll it out, but then you're just going to kind of let it go and watch it, how it returns to a neutral position, which may start to be a little different than what you started at. Several times, just rolling it out and letting it go. And even after doing this a few times with just the right leg and then letting it go, you might start to notice how already it's feeling more different than the left leg, just by bringing this little bit of attention to it. And then just pause. And then a few times roll it in, like you're pointing your toes towards your other leg, and let it roll back to neutral. And as always, our movements are not about stretching or range of motion. They're just about the quality of movement. So if the amount of movement that's comfortable for you is an inch or less, then that's enough. Maybe it's a centimeter. Or maybe it's a flink, where you just sort of feel and think it, and you have the hint of the movement in that direction without a whole lot of apparent movement happening. All are acceptable options. And then just sort of let it go. And pause for a moment. And just sort of notice how you're experiencing your right leg now. And then begin to roll your right leg outward again. And notice that at a certain point rolling your leg, if you were going to go any further, something else would need to happen. There begins to be like an invitation for your right knee to begin to bend. See if you can roll it out and begin to feel at what point does a natural bend begin to happen in that right knee. And of course listening for your breathing, for comfort and discomfort. For some of you, rolling your leg out that far might create a little pain, so just don't go that far, and then you can just create a bend in your knee a little earlier. And then you might also notice that as the knee begins to bend, that the heel begins to slide upward a little bit, upward towards your hip and pelvis. So as you roll the knee outward, the whole leg outward, and the right knee bends a little bit, and then the heel slides a little bit on your mat or on the floor towards your hip and buttocks, and then you just lower it back down. Good, and then just let that go for a moment. Listening to not just how your right leg feels compared to your left leg, but is there any other changes all up along the right side of your spine, your low back and your shoulder blade? Sometimes just activating one side, you might might even feel something in your face or your breath. And then return to the movement, rolling your leg out, letting the knee bend, and this time really allow that heel to begin sliding. Each time you go, just a little further up, a little further or a little closer towards your hip and buttock. So your knee rolls out, your heel slides up, and you get more and more bend in your knee as your leg, as much as is comfortable, stays out to the side. And if there begins to be some discomfort in how far open your hip is, you can close it down a little bit. You can bring the knee a little more directly up to the ceiling, just to make sure that your low back and your pelvis stay comfortable with this motion. And just see how far can you go up? How far can you bend your knee and draw your heel up towards your hip? And can you just, each time you come up, just spend a moment allowing that hip and knee to stay in that open position while breathing, noticing if there's any clenching going on in your jaw, if your tongue is staying soft in your mouth. And then next time you slide your heel up as far as it will go, letting your knee stay open to the side, then just bring your knee up towards the ceiling so you're then standing on your foot. And then from that position, you can slowly drop your knee out to the side, so you roll onto the outside edge of your foot, and you slide your leg back down long. And do that a few times. The interesting thing about this movement is if you watch a baby, they do not know how to bring their knee to their chest the way you have somehow been trained. Right? They always open their legs out to the side, and it's not just because we put diapers on them. Right? They just have these lovely open hips, free and open hips. And then we societize them, it's my new made-up word, into thinking that their knees are supposed to be together, especially if they're girls. So this is a really lovely freeing hip movement. And then next time your leg is down long, just let it stay there. If you're able to let your other leg down long for a moment without too much discomfort in your back, just for a moment to compare the right leg to the left leg. How's everything feeling now? Who feels like their right leg is a different leg now compared to their left leg? Yeah, pretty much everybody. You can bring it all the way down long. Yeah. There you go. Is that left leg itching to begin rolling? Just kind of hang out with that for a minute. Like you know what's coming, right? But can you just sort of stay in that asymmetry, that difference? Like what's going on in the brain? All right, so bring your attention down to your left leg. If it's helpful, you can bend your right leg up if that helps take some pressure off your low back. And just begin that very initial experiment of rolling your left leg a little out and then kind of letting it go, seeing where does it go if you let go for it to return to neutral without you doing anything. keeping the leg long for now, so no bend in the knee. Rolling out and back to neutral. And then maybe a couple times letting it roll in and back to neutral. And then just let it go for a moment. Always listening. What's going on? And then come back to the left leg and begin to roll it out until you feel that first inkling of an invitation for your knee to begin to bend. If it's comfortable for your hip and pelvis to roll out just as far as you can until that knee just wants to bend. You're not making it bend unless you need to protect for any discomfort. But in general, you're just waiting for the invitation, the natural part of the sequence of the movement. That's what's so lovely about the Feldenkrais movements is somehow Moshe Feldenkrais designed these movements so that step by step by step we could kind of reconnect our brains to the most natural way that we were intended to move, and most of us probably did as infants and toddlers. And then we began watching our role models, moving in ways that people instructed us to, conforming to some external idea of how movement should be and how we should be in our bodies. And many of us, if not most of us, lost touch with those natural connections. And again, just pause for a moment. For those of you who are new to Feldenkrais, it's very intention focused. We're paying a lot of attention and putting a lot of intention into ourselves. So the rests are really neurological for your brain and your nervous system to assimilate the information. Because obviously, hopefully, you're not short of breath. It's a different kind of brain exercise. And coming back to the left leg and rolling it out, feeling the invitation for the knee to bend, and beginning to feel the heel sliding on the floor. Each time you roll it out, allowing it to slide a little further, closer to your hip and buttock. Each time you let it lengthen, bringing as much attention to the lengthening and the pause before the next rolling and the bending. And noticing how, for many of us, we'll put a lot of attention into the initial rolling and bending because that seems like the doing part. And then we might check out a little bit for the undoing part, the coming back to neutral. So we're training attention. Making sure you're breathing and that attention doesn't require holding your breath or clenching your jaw, tightening the back of your neck. Little by little, bringing that left leg up and up until you just feel that it's at that point where you can bring the knee up to the ceiling and bring your weight all the way through your left foot. Pausing there for a moment and letting it drop back down, letting the knee out to the side, sliding down along the outside edge of your heel and lengthening your leg. And go ahead and bring both legs down long. And just feeling now how you're lying here compared to the beginning. And then one more time, let's alternate. Bring your right leg up and bring it back down in the new way, the baby way. And then bring your left leg up, rolling it out to the side, bending the knee, standing it up. And letting it drop back out to the side. And also noticing as you draw each leg up and let it back down, what else is happening? How does your pelvis respond? What's happening in your spine? Is there any movement in your shoulder blades or your neck? And we'll sort of continue this pattern and feel it up through the rest of your trunk next week. Not to be missed. And so next time both your legs are down long, begin to find your way to roll to your side and just slowly coming up to standing, sort of staying in this place of listening, feeling, noticing. We'll walk around a little bit and share any insights that you have from this lesson and how it affects you in standing and walking. Thank you.